In this lesson, we're going to create the axles for our wheel. Alright, so taking a look at our reference image, we can really see it in the front view here of the RC car. We can see that we kind of have this spherical type of assembly that is attached to a cylinder that's on the inside. We can really see this right here. So that's what we're trying to create. So let's go ahead and create the cylinder on the inside, and then we'll attach a sphere along the back side to get that started. We'll also create our axle here. So let's go to cylinder, and in our front view, hitting F on the keyboard, I'm going to go ahead and drag out a cylinder about this size here, and then just get a height on that. So maybe 10 or 11 might be good. And let's go ahead and make sure that we align this to the rest of our objects. So I'm going to align this to my wheel, doing center to center, and then hitting OK. So we don't want to go all the way to the edge. We want to be pretty close. I don't want to be right on top of my wheel like this. Okay, I just want to be on the other side of that. And then let's convert it to editable poly. And I'm going to grab that polygon right across the back. I'm going to pull this out right here, pretty close to the edge. Okay, now with this, I'm going to go ahead and just delete that, just to get that out of the way right now. So let's go to edge mode, or actually polygon mode. Let's select this front polygon right here. Now with this polygon selected, I want to chamfer these outside edges here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert my polygon selection to an edge selection. And I'm going to hold down Control and go to edge mode. And let's use the chamfer tool. And we're just going to use that standard 1.0 default setting there, and that should be good. So just kind of softening that edge along the front. Let's get the spherical portion along the back. So we're going to create a brand new object. So we're going to create a sphere. And I'm going to go to my front view, and I'm just going to drag this in. And we're going to get about the size that we need. Okay, right there. And then I'm also going to go ahead and align that to the cylinder. So hitting F3 just to go back to our regular view. I'm going to use my align tool and align that center to center, and then we'll pull that out. Now what I want to do at this point is I want to go to my top view and hit F3, and let's convert this sphere to editable poly. Now looking at the sphere really quickly, I have 13 segments on it. Now before I go anywhere, I need to make sure that my segments are going to match up to my cylinder. So just to get started with this, let's go ahead and take our segments up, and I believe, actually I think we were at 12 segments on the cylinder and or on the cylinder that we have. So that looks like it matches up there. And now what we want to do is go ahead and take our radius up. Let's try to get those to touch a little bit closer there on those points, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach these together. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Let's pull that forward. Oops. In the Y. And it looks like that might be a little bit too big, so I'm going to pull my radius down just a little. There we go. That looks like it'll work there. Okay, so let's convert this to editable poly. And then I'm going to go to vertex mode. I'm going to hit T on the keyboard to go to my top view, and then F3. And I'm going to get rid of the vertices right here along this side of the line and just delete those. And then now what we want to do is go ahead and pull that sphere out just a little bit. I'm going to attach these points together. Now I could do this a couple of different ways. I could go ahead and attach them first off. I could go ahead and use target weld, okay, on all of these, or I could use weld. Now all these points are pretty close to being together, so all I have to do is go to my top view and select all of those vertices. And then I'm going to use the weld function. Okay, and you'll notice that they haven't welded together because our threshold is too low. So if I take that up, those will snap together and weld. Let's hit OK on that, and there we go. So now we've got our object, and everything's looking pretty good. Alright, so now that we have that attached, what we want to do is we want to create some of the details that we have in this. You can see that there's kind of an extrusion on this that allows that axle to go into that. And then also there's a little bit of a hump here that kind of seems like it pushes up against that rim. So let's go ahead and get that first. I'm going to go ahead and use the Swift Loop tool to add that segment right where I need it to be. And then I'm going to go to Edge mode and select that ring. So we can use a ring just like so. And I'm going to use Connect, and I'm going to split that into two segments. I'm going to spread that apart a little bit using my pinch. So I'm going to pull that and make that closer to the outside edges and hit OK. Now with those still selected, I'm going to use my Scale tool, and I'm going to scale that in the X and Z, and that's going to create that little bit of a lip there. Okay, and that pushes that pretty close to that rim. So now that I have that, let's go to Vertex mode and select this one vertex right here. I'm going to hold down Control and switch that selection to a polygon selection. And then I'm going to extrude this, or I'm sorry, not extrude, but inset that in. And that's going to create a polygon set right along the outside. And that's going to prove for our extrusion right here. So I'm going to hit OK. And with this polygon still selected, I'm going to hit Grow. And that's going to select all of those polygons in that. And I'm going to straighten this up. Now I could use my Scale tool and scale those in the Y, or I could also use this Make Planar. Now Make Planar by itself is going to make those polygons straight in their local direction. So right now it's pretty good. I could also use, I believe, Z, and that will give me the same result. Alright, so now that I have that, let's go ahead and hit Shrink on this because I want to bring that back down. I want to extrude that inward. So let's take that extrusion amount down, and let's go to something like -6. Okay, we don't have to go all the way in. Okay, and then we're going to take these polygons. I'm going to select this one, hold Shift, and select the next one. That'll select that loop of polygons, and then we'll extrude that in a positive direction, and we'll do maybe 1. Okay, and that looks good. So looking at our left view, if I hit L on the keyboard, we are pretty close, but it looks like we might be a little bit further out than what I want. So I'm going to go to my vertex mode, and I'm going to hit F3, and I'm going to select all of those vertices right there on the edge, and just move those in. So I'm just going to move that in a little bit, and that looks good. It's really not going to affect the overall spherical shape of this because we're going to use a turbo smooth on this to really get this shape to pop. So let's turn off vertex mode, and I'm going to apply the turbo smooth modifier, and you'll see that that smooths out really nicely. Let's turn on isoline display and bump up our smoothness iterations up to 2. Now if you need to, you can come in, show end result on your editable poly, and add some swift loops on this to kind of tighten up some of these details. So right here along that edge that we just created and extruded out, we might want to tighten that up a little bit. Okay. So you may have to move the view a little bit, trying to get that a little bit easier. And as you can see, it can be very difficult to use if you're in tighter spaces. So you may have to make some modifications to your workflow there. I'm also going to do on the inside here for this, and trying to find an edge there. There we go. There, we've got it. Okay. Now let's make sure that we also take care of the this outside edge as well. As you can see, it got very soft, so we want to make sure that we add a loop on that. Now the wheel is starting to get in the way a little bit, so I'm going to hit Isolate, and that's just going to give me just the object that I have selected. So I'm going to come in and use my Swift Loop tool really quickly and just add that right in there. Okay, we could even add some loops across here to kind of sharpen that up a little bit. Okay, so there we have that piece. Everything's looking pretty good. We can apply our